Welcome to the latest Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce Q&A. Today we're here for Learning at Work Week to discuss learning at work through further education. I'm Lillian Ellican, Head of Membership at the Chamber, and I'm proud to be joined by my co-host today, Mick Westman, Solihull Chamber Vice President and Founder and CEO of Digital Innovators, as well as Stuart Watson from Leap IT Limited. He's Managing Director there. Roger Tice, Group Managing Director at Richter, and John Angus, Managing Director of Switch Hospitality Management Limited. Welcome all. Thank you for joining us today.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Lillian, and thank you all for joining us. To begin with, can each of you tell us a little bit about your business and why learning at work is so important to you? Perhaps we could start with Stuart.
Yeah, sure. Morning, Mick. Morning, everyone. Leap IT, we're an IT support company, so we typically provide IT outsourcing services to the SME market. We've had 8 apprentices in the past 4 years from Solihull College and also through yourself, Mick, at Digital Innovators. They're predominantly used for first line support, which is answering the telephone first point of call for customers. They've all been boys, which is unfortunate. It tends not to be the first choice career for girls.
And how about you, Roger?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So Richter Associates is a firm of consulting civil, structural and geotechnical engineers. We're slightly different to a normal line consultancy because we work with the building and civil engineering contractors delivering projects. We work on major infrastructure schemes from a project such as HS2 now, which is obviously most people are on, but we work all the way through the supply chain, all the way down to the tier 1, the tier 2 contractors, down to small one-man band businesses who provide specialist services. As a business, I'm really passionate about apprenticeships and training in general throughout the ranks. We have a very clear and concise training program at the company that sees people get the academic and the practical experience that they need. And we also engage with a series of trainees at various levels. We've got trainees that are on level 3, straight out of school, school leavers, 17, first jobs, where they get right in at the bottom, but as an integral part of the team. All the way through to girls and boys, I hasten to add, at various stages of their careers on the HNC degree programs and indeed MScs. And I also sponsor, there's a particular gentleman who's currently doing a PhD in the work that we do. So we cover everything, and if there's a business case for it and the person is keen to develop, obviously we want to push that person to be the best version of themselves, working seamlessly with the rest of the business. So CPD is massively important for us, as is training.
That's brilliant, Roger. Quite a wide range of opportunities there going on in your company. And what about yourself, John?
Morning. I'm Managing Director for Switch Hospitality. We are a management company, so we have 2 active hotels in Birmingham, Park Regis in Broad Street and the Holiday Inn Express, which is on the way out towards NEC. We've got 2 properties in construction, so the sort of Royal Angus Hotel, which is down in actually Snow Hill. So if anyone drives in on the A38, you see the big signs. And then we have the sort of night property, which is down in the centre of town. They're both due to be open in 2022. We also do services, so we do serviced offices. Actually, so our teams currently work across 7 different businesses in Birmingham and growing. People and actually recruitment, well, I'm delighted to say that we have just been awarded in the top 30 hospitality employers in the country. That's from the Gaties. And the great thing about this award that we're pretty proud of is that it's actually nominated by our employees, so it's through a staff survey. And our sentiment score across our group was 97%. So from a people point of view, clearly, our strategy is that great people give great service. Great service then is part of our core role. So as far as developing people, we've got a full people strategy, the same as the guys. We do do the same partnerships, actually apprenticeships, but we decided to do things a little bit differently, and we've partnered actually UCB and our board, so our senior team dedicate actually 1 day per quarter to teach actually students. So we bring a group of 30 students to Park Regis, and our HR director will do a people course, our finance director will do a finance course, and then every each term we set the students a bit of a project. So last term, the catering students had a project where we were naming our actual new hotel, and we set them the same project. So the students went away, did the sort of research, came back, did a presentation. So for us, it's just going the extra mile, which is not just employing the up and coming stars, it's actually helping shape the up and coming stars, because we tend to find that you have the theory, which is what people actually will learn in college, but then we like to add the practice to it.
That's brilliant. Thanks, thanks, John. It's great to see all three businesses have got people right at the centre of what you do. That's fantastic. Lillian, I think you have a question.
Yeah, Stuart, I just wanted to pick up with you. You briefly mentioned that Leap IT have taken on 8 apprentices from Solihull College since 2017. Just wondered, can you share a little bit with us with what have you learned from the apprentices that you've brought into the business over time?
Yeah, sure. First of all the coffee cups, they get replaced with Monster energy drinks, so don't be surprised by that when that happens. But there is also there's a real opportunity when they first start, because these people, they've been in the education for most of their lives, and they really are, this is their first experience at work. They're really a blank canvas. It's very important that you paint the picture of the culture of your business and how you want it to work, because they're there to absorb it all. This is their first experience of being at work, so that's really important. Take time to get them ingrained in your business, both with your clients and also within the colleagues that obviously that they're going to be working with. It's really important to get them hooked into that and feel a part of it. We have quarterly updates with Solihull College that's really effective, so we get to keep track on how they're doing at college and how that's progressing. And we also sit down every quarter with the apprentice as well, and just review with them their college work and also their work for us. Very important that as well. What we have found works really well when you have new apprentices joining the company, we get the older apprentices that have completed their 2-year stint to mentor them. It's really useful that they're the same age, more or less, as the people that are coming in. They've been through it. They know the questions, the worries that the new apprentices are going to have, and they really get them settled in. So kind of creating an academy, just like a football club does, that's really useful. Lastly, I would say don't look at them as cheap labor and just give them repetitive, mundane jobs to do, because you'll lose them. They'll disengage with the company. Let them know, that this is a proper job, and at the end of it, there's every opportunity that they'll become a full-time member of staff, and you'll really get them tuned in then throughout the 2 years that they're on the apprenticeship scheme. So yeah, those are the key things really we've learned.
Thanks, Stuart. That sounds like you've really got a really solid structure for them in place now. Yeah. Sounds really good.
Yeah.
I think there's a really important point that Stuart made there around treating apprentices as adults and giving them real work to do. I think you could be quite surprised actually what you could achieve there. Yeah. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Lillian. Yeah, no, Roger, I was really I could really see the passion that you're describing about your business and how you're developing your talent and encouraging learning at all levels. right up to charter status, which is absolutely amazing, and PhD level. I don't think I've heard that one before, so that's brilliant. How have you built the culture in the workplace at Richter, and how are you working with Southern City College to achieve this?
Well, just touched on the culture thing. The culture is one of high performing, wanting to be successful. This is not a talk. This is not a case of getting people in and sort of browbeating them to getting schemes out. It's about delivering solutions together for behalf of our clients. So, the trainees obviously come with limited skills when they first join. I understand that. I was once that trainee that was stood up into work on day one, not knowing really which direction to go. But in terms of making sure that they feel inclusive, they get put into project teams. We make them obviously give them work that's capable for them to deliver, but obviously get them involved with the bigger projects such that they've got this buddy system that makes sure that they've got some support. They've got a mentor to go to ask questions rather than going to sort of up the line. But we also have a culture that anyone can talk to anyone. And there's a sense of worth. So I make a point of going around the office every now and then and just giving people the benefit of my experience and stuff that I've worked on, and expect them to do the same. So there's projects like lunchtime learning that we do to develop skills, to get them to be a bit more outspoken. You can probably appreciate that civil engineering and contracting is still quite a tough game. You know what I mean? You've certainly got some characters to deal with. So to limit exposure from a fierce construction manager getting on the phone to one of our trainees to chase down solutions to a job, obviously we protect them from that. But in order to get them ready for the big bad world, like these lunchtime learning courses, we get these people or the trainees to stand up in front of a small team, myself can be included, where they do a short presentation on what it is that they've done. And such that that's two things happen there. One, develops presentation skills, develops their ability to negotiate, communicate, which is massively key, I think, for any business. But it also demonstrates that if they can explain it fairly quickly and not stutter once you've come through the fear of delivering a presentation, it proves to us that they also understand it. So we use it as a mentoring system as much as developing soft skills. And as I say, the culture is one of all inclusiveness. Everyone gets involved with everything. We're a multidisciplinary business anyway, and there's nothing we wouldn't do. And as long as the attitude is correct for anyone, apprentices included, you'll always be a success at Richter. Our experience of working with education centres such as yours, we have apprentices. I don't know the exact number. It'd be wrong for me to try and guess it here, but we have a fair few. I'd go as far as to suggest we've probably got 15 people, probably more than that, out of a staff count of 189. And we do engage with the college. We support the college, the time off for exams as appropriate for those that are studying day release. And obviously we make sure that the work the college is giving them, we can actually put to use in the world of work. And that's not just for the engineering side. It's very easy to put someone on an engineering course. They learn a bit more about engineering and they apply that knowledge. But obviously businesses are more than just what the business sells. Businesses have to run. So our accounts team, we have a series of people on courses in their various admin roles to support sort of the in-house accountants that we have, for example. One of the ladies that are on that course with yourselves is doing particularly well. And part of the project work that you set her, she's been implementing sort of procedures that she thinks will benefit our business with regards to, streamlining payment processes, purchase orders and stuff, and how we track that. And that's something that we actively encourage because we're not experts in this. She's going to become the expert of this part of our business. We do engineering. Well, I do engineering. And the stuff that she learns, we want to be valid and we need to implement because that's the way that the world is working, embracing technology, etc. We need to make sure that we're taking advantage of what you're teaching. So that assists also with the culture because it shows that the apprentices are being listened to and things that they suggest are not just given short shrift. They're considered as a team and then implemented if we think they're wholly appropriate. That's
really excellent, Roger. Thank you. The project teams and building that confidence, I think, is an essential part of helping young people and apprentices. So what you're doing there.
It's good also because it's not just the internal teams that they work with. Obviously, on multidisciplinary engineering projects, you are working with the contractor, you're working with the trade contractor, you're working with QSs that are not part of you, but they're still your client. So it's massively important that they get exposure to that as well. But obviously not put in a position where they're asked of a decision which is a bit more than what their knowledge has, you know. So
Yeah,
big brother
brilliant. Lots of
system, I think.
exposure as well. Yeah,
That's
brilliant.
right.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yes, thank you, Roger. That was really, really interesting to find out a little bit more about how you do all of that, working with Southampton City College, working on soft skills and the different projects. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
John, obviously much, if not all of the hospitality sector has been through an incredibly difficult time since the advent of the coronavirus pandemic. We're all very glad to see the sector is now reopening and gearing up to rebuild post-pandemic. So just wondering, how has working with UCB helped you to develop the talent pipeline within your business?
Well, yes, it's been a tough year. I mean, fortunately, we've managed to keep our businesses open and work with key workers throughout, and that's helped us, because ultimately we're in a place where we haven't particularly sort of reopened. It's been business as usual. It's just a case of ramping up at each stage. I think working with actually UCB, it's been very interesting, because when we went back to look at the impact that actually UCB had on our business, 16 of our managers had come through actually UCB. And actually one of our actually more senior managers, so a group director of sales who also managed to win an Acorn Award, came out actually of UCB. So it was really good when you're in front of the students and you can talk about the fact that 16 of our existing team have done the exact same as them. Someone who's on our board, he's just turned 31, I think 32. So someone who's at the sort of highest level of our company has done the exact same course. I think students can then see a pathway, and ultimately with the exact same as sort of Roger. There's people from the each of our levels. There's someone actually from UCB in it, but I think that we've also had a different turn, which is that our senior manager, particularly actually myself and the senior team, when you do go and do a training course actually with 30 students and you go down to WIMS at UCB, or you do it actually in Park Regis, there's a great feeling of giving something back as well. So I think it's a two-way piece. There's you see people actually develop, but without being actually blasé, we see that all the time. So we actually develop people at every role. I mean, ultimately, in our industry, there's a real, you probably see it in the press, but there's a real shortage of people. I think Brexit, has had a real impact, particularly on our industry. There's a lot of people who have particularly gone home, not come to the UK. I think 12 months of furlough, there's a lot of people who found other employment. So trying to find the chefs, the chambermaids, the food and beverage assistants to come back into properties. You got probably people looking for hundreds of jobs all at the same time. And that's where, if you have a sort of reputation and you grow people from UCB, every year when those students are coming out of their course, they go to the places where they feel comfortable with and that has the sort of reputation actually for development. So I think actually from our point of view, it's the benefits actually of UCB has been all through our business, top to bottom, seeing a pathway and also putting something back actually from our senior team.
Thanks, John, for that. I think that's just fascinating, isn't it? And that's so interesting. I think it's such a massive success story of learning at work and working with further education that you've just shared. Someone who's kind of come in through that route and is now on your board. That's just amazing. And I think when the students hear about that, I think it's just really nice that they can identify with that and inspire to obviously follow in their footsteps. So thank you for sharing that. That's really good.
Yeah, I think we also put together a buddy scheme as well. So our board of directors, there's 6 people on our senior team stroke board, and each one of those has probably an average of 2 students in their final year that they have as a buddy. And essentially those students they've just got direct contact, so they can pick the phone up. I mean, I have a couple of students as well, and clearly COVID has stopped that just now, but when we're back in actually September, the system goes ahead. And I find that a final year student to be able to pick the phone up to you and say, you know, actually, what would you do in this situation? Pop in for a cup of coffee at Park Regis. What would you do in this situation? I think it's really valuable. And ultimately, as actually Roger said, you know, you're investing in those fantastic students that will be your future supervisors, future managers. So, you know, if you start at 18, 19, 20, then for me, that's the best investment and the best place to actually start.
What a great way to move us on. I think that sharing experience and giving something back, we shouldn't underestimate how much the apprentices value that, because they're learning from people who've been there, done it, got the scars, which probably all of us on this call probably have experienced over the years between us. I guess finally then, if you were to give one piece of advice to those watching about working with further education to support learning at work, what would it be? Stuart?
I would say when you're recruiting for apprentices, don't worry too much about the skills that they're saying that they've got. Hire them more from their attitude, because you can always teach them the skills, but they need to have the right attitude when they start. And don't be afraid to put them in positions of responsibility where they've got work that's crucial for the business to be done. You know, these young adults, they really will surprise you with what they can do and what they can achieve if you give them the opportunity. So yeah, that would be my tip.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Stuart. How about yourself, Roger?
I mean, I find that you can actually learn something yourselves from these apprentices, you know, and I'll just give you a quick example, right? Obviously, for those of you who've got young children or children generally, the gaming world is now a big thing. There's a particular piece of software, a game called Minecraft, where they just generally, you go around creating worlds, and these people go online. They go online with some of the children from an area you don't know, and they work collaborative to craft things like the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, but though that sounds like fun, what it's teaching them, even from a young age, is that they've got the ability to visualize. So in my world of work, we do plans, we do elevations, we do sections. And I tell you now, the quality of these apprentices that come in, they just get it. They see sections, they see buildings cut through. So in actual fact, their modeling skills are arguably, we can't train any more out of them. The stuff that they do and the speed with which they pick it up, it sometimes embarrass some of our more senior people because they just turn their hands to these modern software. So the one thing that I would say is you actually learn from your apprentices as well, and they bring fresh ideas into your own business, which again, if you don't embrace these things, these people 10 years from now have been doing it that way. They move on. So you become a danger of becoming extinct as your own business if you don't listen to what's coming on behind you as much as what's been happening in front of you. So that would be the piece that I would recognise as an employer. You've got to work with the education centres as well, to make sure it's appropriate. But ultimately, you need to listen to your trainees, because what's the point of developing them if you're just going to keep not listening to their suggestions? That's madness.
What a fantastic insight. Who'd have thought that all those children playing games in their bedrooms were actually building their careers, ready to come and work for people like yourself, Roger? That's fantastic. Thank you. John, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm still to see the benefit actually of Fortnite, but who knows? Perhaps it will help for taking care of the front door or something. But yeah, I mean, I would suggest, I mean, personally, I would say on a serious note that if you are taking on an apprentice, you need to see it as a bit as an investment. I think sometimes I've seen people where they expect the apprentice to be a member of staff. Now, that might sound a bit silly, but actually we don't expect that. So if, for example, in our operation, we have X amount of people to serve our customers, the apprenticeship doesn't count as part of that number. They are extra. They're never deemed to be part of the count. So if you have them as always being an addition, then you can train them, you can look after them and develop them. I think there's so many apprentices that I've seen and actually heard of that just get chucked in. I mean, I remember, I won't tell you how many sort of years ago it was, but my sort of YTS scheme, I learned how to peel a 5 kilogram bag of potatoes every single day. And I think you have to avoid that, because if you're going to do that, don't actually bring them in, because I don't think it's the right way, and it just gives the actual apprenticeships actually a negative view, and then it will mean that future students will be very apprehensive about joining that industry. So I think if you do invest in it, take the time, because as Roger and Stuart said, the benefits on the other side are that, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, I mean, what I have found is the abundance of energy, and the fact that, particularly in our industry where we are, we focus hard on sort of multi-scaling and the ability to do actually more than one thing at a time. So if you're on reception, you can work in the bar, you can do X, Y, and Z. And these sort of young team members of 19, 20, they just seem to have the capacity to just say, yeah, fine, let's switch. They don't have the institutional, that's not actually my job, mate. And I think that's really important. So I think the benefits are some short-term investment. Don't chuck them in at the deep end. You will benefit from it 10 times.
That's fantastic. Thank you, John. Attitude again there came through, and the great attitude these young people bring to the workplace, which is, in terms of learning at work, is so important. So thank you that, and thank you all for your insights. The construction, IT, and hospitality worlds have gone through a difficult period, but now with the help of some apprentices and young people, perhaps we can start to drive ourselves forward again. So that's fantastic. Lillian, anything from yourselves to finally?
No, just a huge thank you to all of you for your time today, but also for the time you take to invest in our young people. Now, after the coronavirus pandemic, coming out of the other side of it, is more important than ever to give young people opportunities to experience the world of work, which they haven't been able to do for such a long time. So to have 3 businesses here today sharing how they do that already, I think it's really inspiring, and I hope that some of our viewers will feel the same and will follow your lead. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
No problem.